Gross, and this is Faces of Faith, Episode 2. I'm sitting down here with Jim Gerlt. He's the executive pastor at Bacon Heights Baptist Church, but you may recognize him as city councilman for District 4. Pastor Gerlt, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been in Lubbock for 20 years. I came here, was senior pastor at Indiana Avenue Baptist Church for 10. Took some time off from ministry, did some contract work for a financial institution, sold some medical equipment, and then this church loved me back into ministry, and I've been here for 8 years.
8 years.
And my wife is a teacher at Evans Middle School,
Okay.
teaches 7th grade English and reading, and we love Lubbock. We had chosen to stay here over these years. When I left Indiana Avenue, we could have gone anywhere and said, we love Lubbock, we're going to stay here.
Okay, awesome.
We have 3 children, grown and married, and 10 grandkids.
Oh, wow.
So,
do they live around here too?
No, unfortunately, none of them
no.
do. They're far away.
Oh. Well, tell us why you decided to run for city council.
I've been involved in the community a lot. Involvement with the Chamber of Commerce for a long time. In fact, one year I was a volunteer of the year. So I've been actively involved in the community. Was on the Community Development Services Board for the City of Lubbock for a while. Was the chairman of it for 2 years. And just saw some opportunities to serve and wasn't real pleased with some of the way things were going. So I decided it's time to get involved.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how long have you been on the city council?
It's been almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. Okay. And you're up for re-election in 2016, we talked about.
The seat will be up for election in 2016.
Okay.
I haven't decided yet if I'm going to run again.
Okay. Awesome. And I guess the topic of our discussion today is, do you feel Christians should be active in government and politics?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, why?
When you go back and look at the history of our country, it was some of the Christians who were the leaders of the Revolutionary War. When you look at the Bill of Rights, there was a Baptist preacher, John Leland, who really pushed for the Bill of Rights. In fact, it was almost like there was a concession made: if you'll allow us to go ahead with the Constitution, then we'll come back. And I'm kind of exaggerating on this a little bit, but they came back then, and the Bill of Rights were put into play. Largely because of some of the Christian leaders in our nation in our founding days. When you look at how our country is organized, it's really founded upon what we believe to be biblical principles. And I think it's sad that as Christians we have backed away. Mm-hmm. Now I kind of understand why it is, because someone explained to me politics is a full contact sport, and it does get kind of nasty sometimes. And a lot of people just don't want to put up with it. They just don't want to subject themselves to the kind of abuse that comes. I'll tell you this, the night I was elected to the council, there were some who felt immediately that I was corrupt because I had won an election, or that I was doing it for a hidden reason. And they'll get emails from time to time and say, okay, how much money are you making off of this? Well, our salaries as a council member is $25 a month.
Oh.
And I promise you, there's no hidden payoffs that come into play. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. A lot of people don't want to subject themselves to it. So I think a lot of Christians have said, I'm going to stay away from that.
Do you feel that there's a biblical obligation to be in leadership roles, even in the community and in government?
I really do.
Okay.
I don't think we have any right to complain about the way our government is going if we don't get involved.
Okay.
And when you look in the Old Testament, good grief, how many of the Old Testament prophets were involved in leadership roles? Samuel, for example, was a judge. He basically ruled Israel for a while. When Saul became the king, it was Samuel who was the one who selected him and anointed him. When David became the king, it was Samuel who came in under the leadership of the Lord to do that. And when you look throughout the Bible, whenever Israel had godly leaders, the nation prospered. Whenever they had leaders who were not godly, they got into trouble. Mm-hmm. And I think if you look back at our nation's history, when we had some of the biblical basis, when we were following the biblical basics, I think we were seeing some very positive things taking place for our nation.
Is there a biblical figure or a historical figure in politics, somebody that you try to emulate?
Not one person in particular. Of course, again, King David, not always a perfect model because he committed adultery and he made some terrible mistakes. Mm-hmm. But David was a man who was a man after God's own heart, and he rose to a great position of leadership. Solomon, as long as he was walking with the Lord, was a great leader. But when you look even in the New Testament at the Apostle Paul, who stood before government and pleaded the case of Christ, he wasn't a governmental leader, but he had impact upon the nation. And so, yeah, you look around, you see a lot of religious leaders, I shouldn't say religious, a lot of Christian leaders who had a very positive impact upon what's taking place within our nation. Wow, when you look at the abolition of slavery, it was Christians who took the lead, and we've got to stop this.
Okay. And how has it been being in the spotlight for the last 2 years? Do you feel like it's helped your testimony, or do you ever kind of wonder how you look in the public eye as a Christian?
Yeah, it probably has had some kind of effect. I laugh with my wife. One of our favorite places to eat is Abuelo's, but I laugh about the walk of shame now, because inevitably we'll be put in the back room. So you're walking down that long aisle to get to the back room, and there are people in there look up at you and they're trying to figure out who you are. Some of them go,
they recognize you.
I think I know you, and then some go, oh, I know who you are. And then others go, that's kind of funny. But yeah, you're much more visible. You really are. But hopefully, people are able to see that when I make a decision, I make it based upon what I believe to be the best for the city of Lubbock. Not what's best for a special interest group, not what's best for me, but what's best for the city of Lubbock. And I just have to be faithful to what I believe is the right thing to do. You know, the reality is you're not going to please everybody. You're not going to please you can't please all the people all the time, that's for sure. Sometimes you can't please any of the people. But if I come in and make the decision based upon what I believe are the best decisions for the city of Lubbock, then if people don't like it, that's fine. I understand they may not agree with it. I'll tell you one of the funny things, even as early on when coffee was just first being introduced into churches, one Sunday morning church in Tulsa, one day I had someone come in and say, oh, Pastor, it's just unconscionable that we're having coffee in here. And they walked out. 5 minutes later, someone came in and said, oh, Pastor, the greatest thing we've ever done is starting having coffee here.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, so it's kind of a matter,
can't please everybody,
like you
said.
So you have to do what you think is the right thing.
And what's been your favorite part of being on the city council?
Some of the positive things that we're able to do, for example, the synthetic marijuana, making some strides against that. That is such a devastating thing that's taking place in our community. I also find it interesting that about the time now government's starting to say, let's loosen things on marijuana, that now studies are coming out showing that smoking marijuana creates abnormalities in the brain. Getting involved in trying to stop human sex trafficking. I didn't know anything about that until about a little over a year ago. And then I'm discovering what's going on in that area. So being able to have some influence and having some authority to come in and try and do some things to help people's lives. To be able to come in and have a positive role in some areas. I love some of the ribbon cuttings we get to do. You know, the recognition of some of our students on some of the positive things that they're doing. That's been a fun thing. And I really, for the most part, I enjoy my role in the council. I enjoy being on the inside trying to fix it rather than being on the outside fussing about it. So I guess and I've made a lot of new friends. A lot of folks that I wouldn't have met had I not walked into this arena. And now my circle of friends has expanded tremendously just because of opportunities, because I'm an elected official now.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
I think it's going to be interesting to see how our city moves forward in some of our challenges. The LP&L issue, that's one that's going to be a big deal to see us come forward, and we've all got to come together and work on that. One of the disappointing things occurred last summer when we had some misunderstanding about the LP&L bills, and everybody assumed that there was some payoff taking place, and there wasn't. But I'm anxious to get that resolved. And our water supply, you know, that's something that I'm talking more, I guess, about government than about faces of faith. But those are things that really concern me, and I won't say it keeps me up at night, but it sure occupies my thoughts. That our 100-year water plan, that we've got to make sure that we continue to revise that and we have water available for our folks. If we ever get rain around here, checking our storm system, make sure that we're getting that up where it needs to be, getting more people out of the floodplain, and that's a very positive thing to help with our folks.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's our show. Thanks for watching.